Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. All right. Today, Tim and I are talking about self-validation, how to validate yourself, how to learn to rely on you when it comes to making decisions in your life, rather than focusing on what the outside world says to you about you and believing it. Okay.
I like this
Yeah.
already.
This happens to, I would think, all of us throughout our lives, where we can move into this headspace of relying on other people to affirm us, to validate us, to tell us that we're going in the right direction, you're doing the right thing, or don't go there, go there. And we've gotten so used to it that we've drowned out our own voice for what is best for us. So we're gonna get into that today.
I could see some twists and turns with this one. Really.
And I have a good story that you're involved in.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I was hoping you'd say that.
Mm-hmm. Have you had a time in your life where you have relied on other people to help you make decisions and been indecisive and stuck because you didn't know what to do and you found that you weren't relying as much on yourself? Can you look back now in hindsight and think of a time in your life when you've been through that?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think there's probably been a handful of times where I was deciding which way to go with my career. I could say that I would listen to some input. I actively went out and sourced out the input. I think that's where I was going to go with this is like, did I source out somebody because I kind of knew what they were going to say?
Oh,
I don't know that I thought about that really.
either to stay in the career you're in or to change, to
Yeah.
take a risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you stack the deck in your favor?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know that I did or didn't. I just think that that's something that could, we'll get into that part.
I mean, I think there are times in our lives where we do seek a consultation and it's wise and prudent to do so. When I was back working in eating disorders, I was 30 years old at that time and I wanted to start my own practice. There are a few therapists who had practices, and I always knew that that was an end goal of mine as a therapist. I always knew that. It wasn't going to be working in a hospital setting or community mental health. I always wanted my own private practice. I guess it was the entrepreneur or the part of me that wanted to have my own small business. And I was very nervous to do it because I'd gotten very used to and very comfortable with the hours I worked. You all know, who are listening and watching, you know what it's like when you get very used to the routine of you come into work and these are the patients that you see. And oh, I got to run this group at 5. And then I have this session with this person at 6, and daytime hours you take for lunch from 12, staff meetings. You get used to that and you get used to the pay. The paycheck is the same every 2 weeks. And, you get used to living your life based on what kind of money you're making. And I wanted to take this risk and go out on my own with not having possibly any clients, no one, because at that time you couldn't advertise. I think it's still this way today. I'm not sure if I think the law has changed in Illinois. You could not advertise and push your private practice to the patients that time we're seeing in the unit.
That makes total sense.
And I could have certainly filled up a brand new practice with all those patients if they had come to me.
Yeah.
So I knew not to do that. But then the 2 people I did go to, one was a therapist in the program with me, a colleague of mine, and she had her own private practice. And the woman that I was consulting with in all my cases, because they wouldn't pay for consultation, I needed more because eating disorders, as you may have known, I've talked about it on here. That's a really, really, really tough niche subspecialty line of work to be in mental health. You just really need help with it because there's usually other diagnoses going on. It's a complicated thing, and it's the one psychiatric illness that you can die from. It's heavy. There's usually psychiatry involved and a medical doctor involved. So she was somebody that I had a lot of respect for. She was a seasoned master's level therapist who taught at Northwestern in Chicago, in Evanston, great university, great Marriage and Family Institute program training, and she taught there. So she was great. And she was encouraging to me, and so was this other person. But at the same time, I had to, at the end of the day, rely on myself and if I believed that I could do it. And I did have some naysayers. I had people who were nervous, like, I don't know if you're going to be able to do this. I don't know if you're going to be able to do this. And you have to be careful because if you listen to that, a person could almost not make a decision. You get stuck. We call it analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
I mean, you get stuck in this paralysis of analyzing the pros, the cons, a what if, so what if that, what if this, what if it goes wrong? Well, what if it goes right? So I went through that for a while and finally made the decision to go out on my own. And I remember my boss, she was kind of mad at me, but she was mad at me in a good way because We got along very well. We were very close. She was like my work sister. She didn't want me to leave, but also she knew I was a good therapist and she loved the work that I did. So I'll toot my own horn on that. But I knew I was good at what I did. And I knew she knew I was good at what I did. She told me. I remember her saying, "You can't take the patients with you." I said, "Well, I'm not going to. I already know the deal. I'm not going to do that." But the other person said, if they ask you where you're going, you can answer their questions. And every single person asked me where I was going, and every single person came with me. So it ended up being a great result because I actually very quickly filled up my practice. And the other person was kind of mad at me for a while after that, but I wasn't actively promoting it. But I did
Yeah.
answer the question.
I know.
She got over it.
Yeah.
We remained very close after that. But that was really a time of difficulty in making a decision. I probably grappled with that decision for a year. It was at least a year that I went back and forth. But at the end of the day, I had to have self belief. I had to believe that I could do it. I had to have belief in my skills, my skill set. Psychotherapy and really life coaching, there's an art and a science to it. You all know the science. The science is what are the trainings that I have under my belt? What are the conferences? What are the certifications? That's the science. That's undergrad psychology and social work. That's master's degree and all the trainings you have to do to keep up your CEUs, 30 CEUs every 2 years. So you have to keep up with your training, right? We all know that.
Yeah.
And we all can get that. But the art is the relationship that therapist and that coach has with their client. That's the art. That's how I connect with my clients. That's all of that good stuff. It's what keeps you together. It's what keeps the client getting results. It's because the way in which I work with my clients and they work with me.
Yeah.
That was a hard one, but the hardest one was really when I wanted to go further in triathlon. That was rough because there was a lot of, well, I shouldn't say a lot, but there was doubt. There was doubt about my ability. And then I would talk to you about it. And I think you had doubt. Well, not, I know you doubted my ability. Yes.
Doubt's a strong word, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah. Oh, backpedal, backpedal.
question it. I don't know. I mean,
Admit it. Admit it, Tim. It's true.
yeah, I look back now and it's like, okay, yeah, it's easy to see it. And words that came out of my mouth, I probably should have not said what I said.
It's okay. You said it the way it's okay. You did say it. You did say it.
And,
Yeah.
and I'm owning it right
Yeah.
here on
Yeah.
live. There probably were some aspects of your background that didn't lend itself to competitive triathlon. Like,
Yeah.
you didn't have a cycling background.
I did.
You
Right.
didn't really have a swimming background either, to be quite honest.
From the time. Right.
Yeah. So
Right.
it's like, and when you look at those two things, it's like, okay, that's not saying you can't perfect that or get better at those things, but like just organically, you didn't have that going for you
Right.
in the moment. And that's probably what drove me to say, I don't know. I mean, I questioned it.
You all think about something in your life. As we're talking here, try to think of an example in your life where this has happened to you, because I'm sure those of you who are watching and listening, you can think of a time in your life when this happened. I went to do a swim test for a potential coach. I don't know if you remember this. You came with me and we drove an hour somewhere, some other western suburb of Chicago to meet with this person that was going to potentially be my coach. And she watched me swim and I never forget, she said to me, "You're average." I'll never forget that. That's a lot of the coaches I know I've had throughout my life in sports. But she's like, "Yeah, you're average. Okay, nothing special." I think I thought she'd say something like, "Good job. You look good. You look good. There's a lot we can improve on. This is what I would do to work with you." But that's all she said. And I just felt like, geez, there you go. It's like, okay, you're average. You get told these things.
Yeah.
And we rely on others to define us and to tell us how we are and who we are and predict for us what we will do and how we will do in life and how we will do in this job and how we will do in school.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to get into. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the reasons why this happens. Okay. How is it that we've lost our ability to know what's right for us? And how is it that we seem to have lost our ability to know what's best for us? What's best for me as an individual? What's best for you, Tim, as an individual? And it's popping up more and more. One of the reasons is social conditioning and early influences. So this is the cultural norms. From an early age, we are taught specific values, mostly from our parents, and the values and definitions around success. That's your grades in school. That's the career prestige. It can be your physical appearance. So we're told what the norm is and what we ought to go after. And once you get there, stay there. So it could be family and authority figures, like I said, parents, teachers, sometimes sports coaches, tutors, all those authority figures in our lives. They may be well meaning, but they can have firm ideas about we air quote should do. We get that loud and clear as kids, as children, as adolescents. We get those messages, whether it's directly stated to us or implied. We learn to pick up on the implications. And we're sending message. We're messaging ourselves about what we are able to and not able to do. That road, that yellow brick road, that's not for me. That's for that person over there who he's really smart. He always gets A's. Or she's the talent. She's the swimmer. She's the great gymnast at the gym club, at the gymnastics club. That's not for me. That road is for her. And then peer pressure and just really the fear of being different is something that holds people back from knowing what's best for them. Belonging to a group is a huge human need. What we sense is right for us, it may not align with what's popular. So we oftentimes will tamp down what it is we want to go for because we risk rejection or we don't want to be made fun of. Ridicule, right? I'm not
Totally.
saying that lightly. We can be really terrified of being made fun of or rejected. So we just tamp it down and put it away, file it away in our mind and in our heart, and we don't go back to it.
Yeah.
Right?
So you're talking to somebody about this. How do you define like how much weight they should give to that voice?
The voice of the past.
Yeah.
The
Like,
voice of the
how
past.
much weight should that be? Like is
Not much.
10%? Like
Not much.
it shouldn't be that
No.
much of an influencer, right?
And here's the coaching question. Where did you learn this? Who told you this? Where did you learn this? And that's a really great conversation and discussion around, oh gosh, I haven't thought about this in years, or, I never told anybody this, or I don't know. But now that you ask, I mean, it was said to me, or that's how I interpreted what Coach Joe was saying to me. I mean, or saying to the team that we kind of sucked and we would never get anywhere. And that's what my teacher said. You're average. You'll always be a B student. Actually, one of the kids' teachers told me that when she was in second grade, that she would just be an average kid. And look at her today, killing it. And I never told her that. I was so mad at her. I wanted her to not be my daughter's teacher anymore. I couldn't believe she said that because she had a belief that your kid is average and she's nothing special and get used to it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had to decide as a parent to not let that in, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's just risky. Like you're empowering somebody quite a bit.
Or you allow their sentences, their statement to empower you in a negative way.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, because we all go through life, whether you're young or old. These moments happen a lot. They happen probably, I mean, certainly every week.
Right.
This type of scenario for most of us, right?
Right.
I think we have to put parentheses around like where we're sourcing our feedback from, right?
Right.
Like, okay, let's consider that.
Consider it, but it doesn't
Yeah.
define you.
Yeah.
So the question is, here's the coaching question for all of you. Where did you learn this belief? All right. Where does this come from? And ask yourself this other question. I'm going to add in a bonus one. If this is truly my desire to do this or do that, or be this or be that, is this something I really want to do? Or am I carrying somebody else's expectation of me? Okay. Those are two really powerful questions that I would like you all, if you're in this place in your life, to think about. Ponder it, go write it down, journal about it, write in your diary, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Take a walk and really spend some time thinking about this. Okay.
Yeah. I'm thinking about, so I was at a crossroads. I taught cycling. I'm talking about my side hustle stuff now. And I was like doing some one-on-one stuff or group, like small group fitness or whatever.
Right.
But I was at a crossroads of deciding whether to add any type of swimming to it. Do you remember this? And I remember you and I spoke of it and you were like, double thumbs up. And then I talked to other people because I'm like, you know what? Is that a good move? Is that a good add to what I do?
Yeah.
Because then it's like, okay, if it is, then you go back and you got to get these certifications and spend some time,
Yeah.
spend some effort,
Money,
spend some
time,
money, right?
energy. Right.
And if I had listened to everybody, I think maybe one or two that said, go for it. And everybody else was like, no, it's pool time's hard to get.
I don't remember any. I don't
clients.
remember this. That's interesting, Tim.
Yeah. And obviously I went forward with it and went through all of that stuff. But it's interesting now, and I'm thinking about it now because like that's mostly what I do. I mean, that's my side hustle is almost
It's
exclusively-
interesting. And you are known now for being an excellent swim coach, teacher, from teaching
Yeah.
little 3-year-olds how to swim to teaching 70-year-old women how to swim to teaching 12-year-olds advanced stroke development so that they can make clubs swim.
Yeah.
I mean, you do it all and you're
Yeah.
great at it.
But
Yeah.
the point though is had I listened to those influencers.
So what was it inside of you that made you go for it and get your all these certs in swimming?
I think for me, I think it was the vision that I knew what I brought to the table as a coach and other things.
Yeah.
So I was like, I know how to swim. I've done triathlons for years and I can turn that around and market that.
But knowing how to swim and being a good coach, two very different things. Yeah. I mean, the great NFL football coaches or these soccer coaches, football coaches, soccer internationally throughout the world, they weren't professional soccer players themselves. How many of them? Some, but most great football, NFL football coaches, they're experts in coaching. Well, they weren't all, yeah, but they weren't all college, collegiate. They weren't D1 and they weren't professional football players and they're great coaches. So, you know, how to swim doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a great swim coach or not,
it doesn't
right?
mean a darn thing.
Right.
I think I saw myself as a coach of other things and I knew how I related to people and I talked to people. And I figured that because I had a background in swimming.
So that's your self-belief.
Yeah.
So that was your belief in yourself, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's like a time where it's like, ooh, be careful what you give the weight of others' influence, right?
Yes.
Don't let it be too much.
So what do you, the listener, what do you really desire?
Yeah.
Okay. And another reason why we seem to have fallen out of the ability, and we do have the ability, I'm saying it's lessened over the years, that you can get this back, you can develop this ability, you can develop this capability. One of the reasons is media. We're in this age of consumption, and I think the 24/7 connectivity, it sort of sends, well, not sort of, it sends a lot of messages, subliminal and very out there messaging to us about how we, air quote, should look, live, feel. That's affecting us to a certain degree. The volume of external messages really can quiet down our internal voice, which that's really the crux of a lot of what I'm saying today is we've moved away from learning to listen to that still small voice inside of each of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all spend a lot of time researching and becoming experts, air quotes, in whatever. So we'll go to YouTube, we'll go to wherever our source is.
Yes. You go to Amazon reviews. Yes. You go to TikTok, right?
Yeah. But like you have to like
Google search.
you got to make sure you know what you listen to. But the way you phrase your question.
You don't know all these people. You don't know them.
You can phrase your question to funnel the answer to come from a different source. Like you can get the response that you want based on how you ask the question.
Yeah.
Right? You can influence that.
Yeah.
You can be careful with that.
Yeah. So, you know, we're in this comparison culture that really is, once again, drowns out our own voice if we don't learn to listen to what we really are wanting. Like I just said, we're also in this rapid information exchange. You know, there's so many experts, air quote, I just said, experts claiming to know what's best for you. What happens is, and I will admit, I get sucked into this. I'm making an effort to not do it as much because it can be easy to doubt your own instincts. You quiet that still small voice, which is your intuition, which is your instinct, because you're reading all those reviews, Google reviews, or you're on Amazon, or you're looking for maybe a life coach and you're on TikTok and you're doing life coach, whatever on TikTok, and you're seeing it like, oh, she seems great or he seems great. Yes, because they did one really great post or they did 3 really good posts, but you got to go further and you got to go further and you got to vet them because they did have some insight, but it doesn't mean that they're the best person for you. That's really important. And there's a lot of people out there today, and this is more in the coaching space. There's a lot of people out there purporting they're going to get you these air quote transformations. And this is a big thing in the coaching world. And I just cringe at it. It's definitely from my background in psychotherapy, and the training in psychotherapy is completely different. It's all research based and it's academia versus the coaching space is sales and marketing. I'm not going to say names on here, but you all can think of the big guru, air quote, life coaches that are on social media and they have these big, huge conferences. They're motivational speakers. That's what they are. They speak well. They're more motivational speakers. And if you wanted to work with them, you'd have to pay, some of them are $50,000 a year, more than that. Some are, $10,000, $20,000 for 6 months. Just make sure they have the goods because you saw them or you read their book. And did they write the book? Was it ghostwritten? Did they have help writing it? I could go off on this because it's a big thing and people are getting sucked into it, but they've lost a sense of what is it that I need? What do I think? And we'll jump the gun. And I'm also talking from experience because I have paid tens of thousands of dollars, and you know who I'm talking about, Tim, a few years ago to somebody who is going to, air quote, elevate me and take me to the next level in coaching. And none of that happened but I had a massive credit card bill
Mm.
and none of that happened. It actually, when we were finished working together, I was completely stuck because, like you said, I was telling you I was frustrated about her, and you go, yeah, because she fire hosed you. And it was the best way to describe the work, air quote work we did together.
Yeah.
I was left completely almost bereft, like I don't know what to do now. And she did not even care. She did not care. She's like, yeah, I got your money. I gave you 6 sessions. You're done. Like, oh, okay.
I mean, there's unlimited amounts of
Yep.
folks that go out into social media.
Right.
And you got to remember, you're seeing this beautiful presentation. Don't forget, they probably took 9 or 10 takes to get that, first
Yeah.
of all.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to get through the whole wrapping paper situation. Like the external, okay, what does it look like?
Yeah.
But
What's inside the box? What's really on the inside?
Exactly.
Right.
100%.
Right. So, what to do about this? Consider setting boundaries for yourself with social media, with your social media use, and take digital breaks. Really, really important. I know it's ad nauseum how much I talk about this on this podcast, and it's true. And everybody, I meet podcasts too, like listen to my podcast, but take breaks from all of them. Take breaks from social media. Take breaks from all the information that's coming through on podcasts. I love them. I listen to them all the time too, but that's where I can go wrong because I can actually spend too much time, like I'm making breakfast or cleaning the house. That's fine, but I'll do it. Like I'm like, Anna, you need to get off. This podcast is very interesting. I know, but you need to get off because you got work to do. I'm at my age and I'm still doing it. So, geez, how do you think the 15-year-olds feel? It's hard for all of us,
Yeah.
but set those boundaries, take those digital breaks. Notice how you feel after you've been scrolling. Does it empower you or to create more doubt in you? So, what I would have you do is I would have you only follow people who empower you. Anybody who makes you feel like you're not skinny enough, you're not healthy enough. Geez, I haven't gotten to the point where I've cut 100% all alcohol out of my life. I do have a couple glasses of wine on Friday night. Now I feel badly about myself because this is what I, air quotes, should be doing right now. This person's really great with their sleep and they look so refreshed and their skin's amazing. And I know they get all this great sleep because that's what their whole page or their account is about. Stop following them. Stop listening to them, okay? Because all it's doing is making you feel bad about what you're not doing in your life.
Right.
Not that there are not improvements that can be made in all of our lives and in our habits and in our routines and in our relationships. But if you're watching these people and it's always like they're doing it all so wonderfully and you feel like you'll never be able to get to the top of that mountain, don't follow them anymore. You curate your feed to follow voices that genuinely support your values and your growth. And there are a lot of those accounts out there too, a lot of great ones.
What's the phrase? Like, if it sounds too good to be true, well, it's too good to be true. I mean,
Right.
but you're right, there are so many really good sources for information. You just have to find them,
Yes.
right?
And once you start finding them, the algorithm is going to send more of those your way.
There you go.
That's important. And I'm sure you all know that. Okay. Before we move on to continuing this conversation, I'd love to just really let you all know I'm available to you. So come talk to me. If you want coaching, reach out to me. hello@annamarcolin.com. You can DM me on TikTok or on Instagram. It is me that responds to those. It's not my admin. It's not my assistant. That is me. Okay. That's important. You're hearing me now or watching me now on this podcast. But when you reach out to me, you're going to get me. That's important. There's nobody in between you and I. All right. So if you want coaching, come talk to me. All right. And if you're in Illinois and you want therapy, reach out to me. All right. You're going to get me. And let's see if I'm a good fit for you. Let's work together. Daylight savings takes effect on March 9th, and it's the perfect time for you to optimize your morning routine now that more sunlight is greeting you in the morning. Enter AG1. Listen, unlike other supplements that come and go, AG1 is a habit that actually sticks because you can feel the difference. There are days when I don't perfectly get in all my fruits and vegetables, but AG1 keeps me going with energy. It's helping with my skin and it's helping me get that great sleep that you all know I preach about all the time. And unlike other supplements that make big claims without the research, AG1 is formulated based on the latest science in nutrition and wellness. So when it comes to my health and hopefully to yours, I want something that I and all of you can trust. And that's why I choose AG1. With science-backed ingredients and real benefits, I can feel AG1 makes it easy to support overall wellness every day. And that's why I've been partnering with AG1 for so many years. And AG1 is offering new subscribers a free $76 gift when you sign up. You'll get a welcome kit, a bottle of D3 and K2, and 5 free travel packs in your first box. So make sure to check out drinkag1.com/Anna to get this offer. That's drinkag1.com/Anna to start your new year on a healthier note. So, what's the next? What are some other reasons why we have moved into this place of just doubting ourselves? We have a lack of practice. We don't practice self reflection. That's a big one. We have these busy, busy, busy lifestyles and we just keep going and we leave little time in our lives to pause and reflect and just to sit quietly with ourselves. I think it's so important to try to wake up 30 minutes before your kids are up in the morning if you can. Take time on a lunch break at work to just sit and reflect and see what comes up for you. Okay. Without reflection, we lose touch with that inner sense that tells us this resonates for me or this doesn't feel right. But you have to sit long enough, meditate, quiet time to listen to that voice inside of you, sharing with you, telling you what's going on. Sometimes it's your inner child telling you, no, don't do this. Don't do this. I don't like that. You don't like that. You don't like that.
Yeah, totally.
There's this emphasis on doing over being that's going on. It's been going on for a while. So society often rewards highly productive people and just the constant busy, busy, busy. We reward that, right? So being still, resting, or simply thinking, it can seem unproductive. And that's why we don't want to do it. And there's another one, the bigger one, which is the next one. Let me just finish this.
Yeah.
And I have actually had clients, both therapy and coaching clients, say this to me over the years. Looking within is so uncomfortable for them. To sit and to notice what comes up inside of them, where they feel in their body, to notice the thoughts that they're having is something that almost feels unbearable for certain people, especially if we suspect that we're on a path that doesn't align with our true desires. That's hard pill to swallow. Like deep down inside, I know that I never should have gone to law school. My dad wanted me to do that. I never should have gone to law school. I don't like being a lawyer. I don't like being an attorney. I make good money, but I'm not happy. I don't like it. And why didn't I sit all those years ago and really look at what was coming up within me? Because I just couldn't. It was an expectation. I had school loans to pay and my dad was a lawyer and they're all lawyers and doctors, or I was the first one that went to law school. Shoot, I'm the first one who went to college. And I knew that everyone was so proud of me. I just couldn't let my parents down or the people around me who were pushing me to move forward and to keep going. And I just didn't have the heart to tell them that I didn't want to do this. Yeah. So I did
That's
it
a
and I'm
tough
not
spot.
happy. It is a tough spot.
That is a tough spot.
Yeah.
Especially if you know the eyes of your circle.
So we distract ourselves.
Focused on
Yeah.
you, right?
Until they end up in my office and they're miserable. That's what happens. That's what has happened. And I have had clients who have really pushed, who've really been stuck, and I'm really pushing them and looking within themselves. I can think of 2 people in particular, 3 people in particular over the 25 years. I remember them saying, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that, Anna. One, we were at a crossroads in therapy and I was really pushing her to be more introspective about this place she was in her life. And I think I talked about it here on this podcast before. It's a standout memory in my mind because I was back in my office before COVID. We call them doorknob conversations, or the conversations that your hand is literally on the doorknob to your office to let the client out. And the conversation continues to go. I mean, you're not supposed to do that as a therapist or as a coach. You're supposed to end it. But sometimes clients want to keep talking. Sometimes it does happen where you're just continuing to talk. Not supposed to do it. It's a boundary issue. It's a whole thing. But she didn't want to leave my office because I think she knew this was going to be the last session. This is therapy. She didn't want to leave my office. And I actually said to her, you have to stand up. You have to stand up. You're going to get off the couch. I said it to her. And I had my hand on the doorknob and she was now sitting with me in the doorway. And I said, you have to do that work. And she just looked straight at me and she goes, I don't want to. I'm not going to. I said, okay. I shrugged and she kind of shrugged it back at me. We had a good relationship.
Yeah.
That's her work. I can't make her do that work. I can't make anybody.
Wasn't your job.
No, it's not my job. Right. And she knew that.
Yeah.
And she said, I don't want to. And I said, okay, goodbye. I said goodbye to her. I never saw her again. Yeah. I never heard from her again. She knew that Anna's really kind of prodding me here to do this work. That's what I'm paying her for. And I don't want to. I can't bring a horse to water. You can't make it drink. It's not my job to make you do the work.
That's the flip, though. That's an instance where she should have given more weight to your.
There were some deeper seated things that were
Yeah.
going on for her. I think there were a lot of fears that were unexpressed. I think there was something subconscious. I don't want to get too deep into this. I think there were actually some unconscious things happening. Subconscious is the part of your brain that you can't access. You can access it. It can take some time to get in there unless you're doing hypnotherapy, which you can get to it pretty much right away, the unconscious. But the unconscious mind is very powerful. Most times we don't understand why it is that we are where we are in our lives because of what's going on with the unconscious. When I was in grad school, and I think they still believe it, the unconscious makes up like 90% of our brain, our mind. The subconscious is like 7% and the conscious is 3. I'm aware of that. And I think at some level she was aware of it. And she was pretty happy in her life in a lot of ways. But there was probably at that time like a deep sense of not knowing what to do. I thought I could help her get there, but she didn't want to do it. And that was okay for me. I was trying to help her.
Right.
But I think that she just didn't want to take the time to really go within and reflect. So, what to do about all of this? So, incorporate small rituals of self reflection. If you are like this former client that I'm talking about, or if that feels familiar to you, or if anything, when you're listening to this is coming up for you, here's your to do, here's your takeaway. Incorporate those small rituals of, like I just said, self reflection, journaling, meditating, or take a quiet walk. Don't have your AirPods in. Don't have anything in your ears. Don't even be listening to music. Sit with yourself, walk with yourself and see what comes up. Where does your mind go? Get curious about where your mind is going to go. What are you going to think about? What are you going to daydream about? It's cool to do. And I do it with running sometimes. Me running with no music in. It's amazing the things that I will think about. It's amazing the answers to questions that I will have, or I will be able to figure out in my mind something that's I'm mentally blocked on in my business. Running will help that. But there isn't music in my ears. It's just me with me.
Yeah.
And I hearing my breath and my feet, hearing my feet hitting the ground.
Right. I like doing the whole journaling thing. If I'm up against a big decision, this versus this versus this, I'll actually take out paper and I'll write down myself all kinds of notes. Okay, if you do this, these are all the pros and cons of this decision. If you go this way, it's this. And usually it's pretty clear. Once you actually get it out of your head
And on paper.
and on paper, you're like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
The answer's
Yeah.
literally right there.
I agree. I think writing probably is for many people the best way.
Yeah.
Because it's a medium. I've said this before. We don't like phones, like your notes app. Do it pen to paper. It's a different medium though when you're actually got a pen or pencil in your hand and you're writing it down.
It's your handwriting.
Yeah.
Right? Like you wrote that.
The next reason why we have moved out of being able to rely on ourselves is we are outsourcing our decisions and we are outsourcing our worth to others. This is approval seeking gone wrong. So I talked about in the beginning about leaving and starting my private practice, but this is approval seeking or gone awry. We rely heavily on other people for validation. What we unintentionally are doing is we're sending a message to ourselves that our own judgment is not enough. And that's not even conscious for many of you. It's a subconscious thing. But you're sending yourself a message. Don't rely on yourself. You're not always so good at this. You need to rely on other people to tell you. There's this fear of failure or regret. If we make our own choices and they don't turn out so well, then, oh, geez, I got to face the responsibility. And that scares the crap out of most of us. Oh, geez, what if? And that was what we talked about, the what ifs in a prior episode. It can feel safer to let other people choose for us so we can blame them if things go wrong. Once again, external metrics of success, which I've talked about a little bit. Society often measures success in terms of income, achievements, or status. So if those markers are different from what your heart truly wants, what truly matters to you, you can really ignore them and still chase whatever it is everybody else is going after for social acceptance or recognition. And that's really tamping down that still small voice inside of you. It really is. I've seen people do it. It's sad to watch because, like I said, they end up in my office many years later or in offices talking to someone. Eventually, what happens is we can just forget that our own measure of success might be completely different. We forget who we are. We forget that I am a creative person. We forget that I'm good at this and I'm not good at that. And when I've had experiences doing this or talking to that person, or when I've got involved in this, it's been such a sense of satisfaction. And I have gotten some feedback from others that I'm good at it, but I enjoy it. And I think about it a lot. That's really important.
It seems like we're such visual people. Like we need to see that it was successful. You need to see statistics that back up that decision that you made was the right decision?
When I was working in oncology, the Kellogg Center here, one of the big cancer clinics in Chicago, and I loved that job. And you all know I love that job and worked there for many years. I had my private practice. Now I'd been in practicing for probably at least 10 years at that point, but I was part-time because I got divorced and had to go back. You all know the story. I had to go back and get health insurance, and I could work 20 hours a week and get really good health insurance because I needed it for the family, for me and the kids. So I brought my practice down to part-time and then worked at Kellogg 20 hours. I was 40 hours between my office and the hospital. And I didn't want to leave, but years later, I think I wanted to work less days. So still wanted to stay involved. I still wanted to see the patients. I didn't want to leave the team because I loved everybody in that clinic. I think my practice was getting busy. Something was going on. I went to the medical director who I had a really good relationship with, and I asked him if he would go to bat for me to administration to see if they could keep me, I think 2 or 3 days a week. He looked at me, went into his office. I sat in the chair across from this huge desk, and he's like, "What's up?" And I said, "I want to talk to you about this." And he just looked, I told him my dilemma, and if he could go to bat for me. He just looked straight at me and goes, "Anna, we are all replaceable."
Ouch.
Ouch.
Don't hold back.
I'll never forget it. He just stared at me. "We are all replaceable. You are replaceable."
Yeah.
Okay, then. And there was a weird silence. I couldn't believe he said that. There's this awkward silence. I didn't know what to say. He just said nothing after that. He didn't back up why he said that. And I just awkwardly sort of got up and said, "Okay." I left his office and I quit a week later.
Yeah.
And I could do it at that time. I was able to, you and I had been married years at that point, and we went on what, a year insurance or something.
Yeah.
I was able to do it. But you were nervous. You were nervous about me. And I felt a little down right away. I felt like, I can't believe you said that to me. I did go to a little bit of a place of self-worth and my value. Well, he didn't value me. And he knew I was really good at what I did. I know not only do we have a good professional relationship, personal relationship, but the professional one. He had me consulting with all these cases. He knew my work. He was there in the room. He saw my work.
Yeah.
And I knew he liked me. I knew he thought I was a good therapist, but he was not willing to go to administration and say, "Hey, I want to keep Anna Marcolene. What do we need to do to keep her? She wants to work maybe one less day. Blah, blah, blah. You're going to have to get somebody to come in and help her." He wouldn't do it. And so I went down a rabbit hole for a little bit, but then I said, forget it. No. He thinks I'm replaceable. I'm not replaceable to those patients, and I'm not replaceable to all of my coworkers, the nurses, the physician assistants, all the people that I worked with. I'm not replaceable to them. I am me, and I'm special, and I'm unique, and I'm good at what I do. And I knew they all knew it. And I'm still have great relationships with them, many of them today, because of the work that we all put into developing these great working relationships with one another.
Yeah.
But that could have gotten to me. I mean, I could have really stewed in that for a while. And I just said, forget that. No way.
I hear what you're saying, because you hear somebody say that, like in real time, like you go in thinking it's going to go one way, and it went literally the
It was an
opposite
ouch.
way. That was a big ouch. It's interesting what you just said, though. You're talking about like what you bring to the table. You and I talk about this all the time. Like, what is it that you sell? If I come into this business and I say, all right, what am I buying? And I say, sometimes we struggle to answer that question.
Right. Because I'm terrible at sales and marketing.
Yeah. But I think,
As you always tell me.
well,
I've had business coaches tell me that. It's hard for me. It's hard for me.
And it shouldn't be your strength.
Yeah,
right?
it's hard.
It's not what you do. But I think you just defined in real time, like on the air, like what you sell. You sell you. No,
I sell my clinical work and my expertise as a coach, and I'm really good at it.
Yeah.
I'm not good at sales. I'm not good at marketing. I'm really good at helping other people and getting them to another stage in their life. I am.
Yeah.
And I'll toot my own horn on that all day long.
And there's therapists galore in the world.
Yes. And there's coaches galore.
in the
Right.
world.
Right.
They're not you. You
Yeah.
sell you.
So it's either appreciated by others or it's not. And like I've always been told, and this is some of the best coaching I got, was that no matter what you do or how you show up, people are just going to hate you for no reason. There's always going to be haters. So what to do about this for all of you? So I just gave you an example of something I went through. What do? You practice small acts of self-trust. Start with making low stakes decisions, like picking a weekend activity of something you want to do purely based on your preference and how it feels. That's how you start. It's low stakes decisions. All right. Gradually building this muscle so that it becomes easier to trust yourself with the bigger decisions in your life. Deciding to get out of bed, deciding to make your bed, deciding.
It's like baby steps.
It's being intentional in your decisions, but start with the little ones. All right. I think that what we also have to do is we have to, once again, reconnect with our inner compass. All of my coaching clients, we talk about their values. Most coaches are going to talk about your values if you're working in a group or a one-on-one setting. You need to identify your true values and your priorities. And if you've forgotten that, spend time going back. So I have clients who really go through their values and they are able to say what they are through the work that we do together. And then I've even had some clients, which is really great. They go and they do a couple or a family's value list. They'll get with their partner and they'll go over what do we value as a couple, which I love. And it helps them make decisions as a family, as a couple and as a family. So notice whether your day-to-day choices align with these values. Always go back to your values. If there's a mismatch, this is not aligned with my values. It's something I really thought I wanted to do, but you know what? It's just not on my list of my values. Start exploring adjustments that are going to let you live more authentically to you. So you may need to make some adjustments. So next is cultivate mindfulness. We're back to mindfulness again. Practices like meditation, deep breathing, or just simply pausing before you react. Maybe you say, I don't want to meditate because I don't like meditating. I know, I hear it all the time. I get it. I do think everybody should do 5 minutes, a few times a week. But if not, then I would tell you, then just pause. Pause before you react to make a decision to check in with how you feel. Respond, don't react. Responding is take a deep breath. Okay, how do I feel about this? How do I really feel about this? Just be quiet for a minute
Yeah.
and check in instead of automatically defaulting to, well, what do they think? Or what do they think? Reacting to looking to everybody else's opinions outside of you. Ask yourself a question like, what do I really want here? What do I really want? Does this align with my deeper sense of who I am?
I mean, I think everybody out there can relate to this in some fashion. You're talking about like in the business world, you've got like mission statements and
Yes.
goals and right. Like,
Well, businesses do it, right? The macro level,
yeah.
right?
I
What
mean,
are their values?
you're
What is their
talking about
mission?
a mission statement for yourself
Yes.
or you and your spouse, your family unit. Everybody gets this.
Right. And to help you with this, seek supportive people around you, seek supportive communities. While external influences, they can be distracting for you. Some environments foster self-discovery and personal growth, like spiritual communities can be really good at this. The different AA, Alcoholics Anonymous groups, if there's an addiction issue there, they're really helpful. But they can really help you learn about yourself. Creative circles are great, or just a personal development group. And those are the groups that I've run, group coaching. They really help people learn to get back to what it is that they want or even who they are as a person. Okay. And don't forget to embrace trial and error. Part of regaining trust in your inner voice is allowing yourself to experiment, to make mistakes, and to learn. Each attempt,
Yeah.
whether it's successful or not successful, you're going to fail. It's okay. Not every time is going to be successful, but it builds self-knowledge. So over time, you're going to refine your senses about what genuinely appeals to you, what fits for you as a person.
Yeah.
So to end, I think it's go back to that conversation that we had earlier about when I wanted to go further with triathlon. And I was telling you on a run that I wanted to go further and I was tired. I think I was 12 or 13 years into triathlon every single year and making it a major commitment. It was like a part-time job for me, full-time practice at that time. I was working full-time, whether it be in the hospital or in my office. And I was always just sort of the middle of the pack person. And I'd have every now and then I'd have a race where I'd come in like fourth or fifth in my age group, the women. I was often in the top 10%, like almost all the time in the top 10% of all the women in the race. But it didn't get beyond that. And I wasn't getting any faster. And that was that run. We'd come back from a triathlon that I'd done poorly at. And I had these really unrealistically high expectations for myself that I was going to get on the podium and at least get third in my age group. But geez, I had no idea what I was in for on that race. It was a trail run. It was a single track trail run.
That was a rough day.
It was a rough, hot day. And I don't even know. I came in like 10th. It was awful for me. And I was crying like a baby. I was crying after the race. I was so upset, making a huge scene, ugly crying on a hill overlooking Lake Winnebago, Wisconsin, in Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
Wow.
Yeah. And people staring at me. And it was after that race that we were on a weekly run. And I was telling you I wanted to do more. And you said, I don't know if you can get any faster. And it bugged the crap out of me that you said that to me. I thought you were going to build me up and push me forward, which you probably should have done, but you didn't do.
Yeah, I know.
I know you didn't, but that's okay.
And I don't
But
get a rewind on that.
no, but good thing for me that I have this piss and vinegar in me, which I do. I've got that moxie, which has not always served me, but it served me really well here. And that I was annoyed with you, but you said it to me very seriously. You weren't being mean. And we just continued running. And I was like fuming on the inside. And I told myself, forget that. And many of you watching or listening, you may understand this too. This may be something that's in you. If someone tells me I can't do it, I'm going to prove them wrong and I'm going to go and do it. So the best thing you could say to somebody like me, like my dad would say, is you can't do it. I don't think you can get straight A's. I don't think you're going to get into that school. I don't think this. I don't think that. And I don't know, looking back, he's deceased now, if he knew that that was putting a fire under my butt and it was bugging me that he was saying that, because it worked. And so
Maybe that's why I said it.
then maybe it was reverse psychology. I probably was why he said it. But I was fuming, annoyed, not really mad at you personally, but mad that you really didn't believe that I could get any better in a way. And so that's what I went about hiring, looking for a new coach. And I interviewed 3 people, ended up going with the one coach who, for the next 7 years, I'll say this, she got me to world championship, half Ironman. Half Ironman was my distance, that and Olympic distance. And she got me there. And I learned how to train smarter. I learned how to train just wiser. Every swim, bike, and run wasn't balls to the wall. It was learning to slow down. But I just learned how to be a better athlete in how I trained. But she got me there. What came out of that was my self-belief. I refused to believe that I couldn't get any quicker. I got better. I got better at all 3 sports. All that to say, for all of you, please don't let people tell you that you can't do it. You don't have it in you. Even the people who are closest to you in your life, like Tim here, my husband. I mean, even like, don't let your mom or your dad or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your friends or your friend group or your spouses, don't let them tell you what you are capable of. Even the people that you love and have wonderful relationships with, they don't know you. They are not you. They don't live inside your mind. They don't live in your heart. So please don't forget that. Always remember yourself. What do you believe? If you believe it, you will be able to do it. Okay. That's really important. So go back to you. What are you passionate about? What do you love? What are you curious about? What do you want to know more about with yourself? Go for it. Go and do it. And put, like the racehorses do, that they put the blinkers on to make them look straight. Put blinkers on, seriously, blinkers on your mind. Put blinkers on your mind and go forward and get it done. Do it.
Yeah.
Okay. You got this. You guys can do it.
And I think the other side of it too is also important, just to say out loud, like when somebody does come to you and ask that question, pause and think about the potential impact that your statement might have on them.
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Come from a place of building people up.
Yeah.
Come from a place of yes. Start with, what was that Simon Sinek's book? Start with yes. I forget who wrote that book. Come from a place of yes. Build people up. Push them to go forward and do bigger and better things for themselves. Even if you are not sure that your kid or your spouse or your friend or your colleague can do it, keep that to yourself. Say, go for it. Try it and see what happens. Okay. Hope that this was helpful. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate with 5 stars, review the podcast, everybody. And we'll see you next time. Mad love.